Hello students, let's start the topic of LPP graphical method maximization problem. Okay, so here is the question where the question is that we have to maximize z is equals to 12x1 plus 16x2. The subjected to 10x1 plus 20x2 is less than or equals to 120. Another equation is 8x1 plus 8x2 less than or equals to 80. X1 and x2 always be greater than or equals to 0. Okay, so we have given this LPP problem and we have to solve these equations through graphical method. Okay, so the first thing first is we cannot solve the equation when it is an inequality sign. So we have to convert that inequality sign into equality equation. So that will be our first step. So 10x1 plus 20x2 is equals to 120 and 8x1 plus 8x2 is equals to 80. Okay, once we have converted the inequality sign into equality, then we have to find the coordinates of each equation separately to draw the line on the graph. So first let's solve the equation 3, that is 10x1 plus 20x2 is equals to 120. How we are going to solve this equation is we are going to assume each variable as 0. Okay, first we will assume x1 as 0 and find the value of x2, and then we will assume x2 as 0 and find the value of x1. Okay, so assume x1 as 0, then the equation will become 10 into 0 plus 20x2 is equals to 120. 10 into 0 will be 0. So 20x2 is equals to 120. Then x2 will be 120 divided by 20, that is 6. So x2 is your 6. We always consider x1 to be drawn on the x-axis and x2 as an y-axis. So when we point out as a coordinates, the first number shows us the x-axis number and the second number on the y-axis number. So since x1 is on x-axis and x2 on the y-axis, we will write the coordinate as 0, 6. Let's assume next x2 as 0. So the equation will become 10x1 plus 20 multiplied by 0 is equals to 120. Then 10x1 plus 0 is equals to 120. 10x1 is equals to 120. x1 is equals to 120 divided by 10. That is your 12. Okay, so here x1 value is 12 and x2 value is 0. So the coordinates will become 12, 0. So now we get the coordinates of the equation 10x1 plus 20x2 is equals to 120, and those are 0, 6 and 12, 0. Next, in the same way, we have to find the coordinates of 8x1 plus 8x2 is equals to 80. Assume x1 as 0. Then the equation will become 8 multiplied by 0 plus 8x2 is equals to 80. 0 plus 8x2 is equals to 80. That is 8x2 is equals to 80 and x2 will become 80 divided by 8, that is 10. So x1 is 0 and x2 is 10. So the coordinate are 0, 10. Next, let's assume x2 is equals to 0. The equation will become 8x1 plus 8 into 0 is equals to 80. 8x1 plus 0 is equals to 80. So 8x1 is equals to 80. X1 is equals to 80 divided by 8, that is 10. So x1 is 10 and x2 is 0. The coordinates will become 10, 0. So the coordinates for the equation 8x1 plus 8x2 is equals to 80 is 0, 10 and 10, 0. Now we have two equations and we got the coordinates for both the equation to draw on the graph. So we draw a graph. Okay, here in x-axis I have pointed out around like 14 and y-axis 14. So let's see, the first equation is 10x1 plus 20x2 is equals to 120. So the coordinates were 0, 6 and 12, 0. So 0, 6 I have pointed and then 12, 0, and I have drawn a line connecting both the points. Right? Next it is 8x1 plus 8x2 is equals to 80. The coordinates are 0, 10 and 10, 0. So I have pointed both the coordinates and draw a line connecting both the points, and we got a line on the graph. Now we can see the if it is a maximized problem, we have to consider the inner area. So we'll consider these 4 points which form a form of quadrant. O, A, C and B. These 4 quadrants. So once we are following this, we know the value of O, that is 0, 0. We know the coordinate of A, that is 0, 6. We know the coordinate of B, that is 10, 0. But we do not know the coordinate of C, that is the intersection of both the equations. So the next step is to find the coordinates for C. Okay. So now we have to solve these two equations, that is 10x1 plus 20x2 is equals to 120 and 8x1 plus 8x2 is equals to 80. Now to solve, at least one of the variables should be equal so that we can cancel it out. Here no variables are equal, so we have to cross multiply. We are multiplying the equation 5 with 8 and equation 6 with 10 so that we can get at least one variable with the equal numbers. Okay, once I multiply 8 with equation 5, I will get 80x1 plus 160x2 is equals to 960. When I multiply 10 into equation 6, I get 80x1 plus 80x2 is equals to 800. Now you see I have 80x1 and 80x1 in both the equations. So I can cancel it out. So I am going to subtract equation 7 and 8. 80x1 will cancel out from both the equations, and the subtraction of the rest is 160x2 minus 80x2 will give you 80x2, and 960 minus 800 will give you 160. That leads to x2 is equals to 2. Now substitute the value of 2 in equation 6, that is 8x1 plus 8x2 is equals to 80. x2 value being 2, 8x1 plus 8 multiplied by 2 is equals to 80. 8x1 plus 16 is equals to 80. 8x1 is equals to 80 minus 16. So 8x1 is equals to 64. So x1 will become 64 divided by 8. So x1 is equals to 8. So the coordinates for C will become 8, 2. Now we got the coordinates for all the 4 points. O being 0, 0, A being 0, 6, B being 10, 0, C being 8, 2. Okay, so now we got the coordinates for all the points. So the last step is to substitute these coordinates on our objective function. If you see the question, the objective function is maximize z, that is equals to 12x1 plus 16x2. So the objective function is 12x1 plus 16x2. So we have to substitute the value of each coordinate in this 12x1 plus 16x2. Okay, the first one being O. O coordinates are 0, 0. That is equals to 12 multiplied by 0 plus 16 multiplied by 0. That will give us 0. The A coordinates are 0, 6. So 12 multiplied by 0 plus 16 multiplied by 6, 12 multiplied by 0 is 0 and 16 multiplied by 6 is 96. So the value of A is 96. Then B. B coordinates are 10, 0. So 12 multiplied by 10 plus 16 multiplied by 0 will give you 120 plus 0 and the value of B is 120. Then the coordinate for C, 8, 2. 12 multiplied by 8 plus 16 multiplied by 2, the value we get is 128. Since it is a maximizing problem, we have the answer is the coordinate where the value is maximum. Here at the point C, the value is maximum, that is 128. So the company will get the maximum value at the point C. So this is your maximizing problem through graphical method. Okay guys, happy learning. Thank you.